Message heavy, dope rhyme show, they not ready. Race against the time like four wheels and ends ready. Keep it steady, beat it hard and they barely give them ears and hear the truth in the light. Dope confetti, message heavy, dope rhyme show, they not ready. Race against the time like four wheels and ends ready. Keep it steady, beat it hard and they barely give them ears and hear the truth in the light. Dope confetti, just the flip of the watch, it's game time. Flip of the watch, it's game time. Vibes, just the flip of the watch, it's game time. 520, flip of the watch, it's game time. Just the flip of the watch, it's game time. 20, flip of the watch, it's game time. 5 to the flip of the watch, it's game time. 520, flip of the watch, it's game time. 520.
All right, and what's up? Welcome to another episode of the FiveTwenty Collective Podcast. This is where music meets ministry and the indie artist takes center stage. This episode is being sponsored by FiveTwenty Radio, hosted by DJ Barcode. Make sure to check out FiveTwenty Radio on the His Hop Radio and the Radio King apps, as well as 24/7 on FiveTwentyCollective.com. FiveTwenty Radio is your home for indie Christian hip hop. And we are in the field here on the Trackstars Podcast Network. This is Eric Boston, and I'm joined by my guy, Nate Shelton. What's good, man?
What's good? Good to be back for another episode.
Yes, sir. And we got a little bit of new stuff to throw into the podcast. We're trying out some things, so looking forward to rolling some of these things out, Nate, and seeing how they go, man. I'm excited about just some of the new formatting we've been playing with, dude, for sure. But guys, if you want to hit me up, make sure you follow me on Twitter. It is at Eric Boston, the number 3. That is at Eric Boston 3. And Nate, where do people hit you up at?
Well, they can find me at Twitter as well at IM_NateDog. Keep up with all the indie CHH news and other musings that I have on social media. Try and keep it light and entertaining on there. So definitely give me a follow and keep up to date with what's going on.
Definitely. And guys, you can also follow FiveTwenty Collective on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. They are all at 520CHH. So make sure you hit us up on whichever is your preference when it comes to social media. Of course, you can always check out FiveTwentyCollective.com. That is the hub. That is the place to be where you get indie Christian hip hop 24/7. All the best news, music posts, interviews, reviews, lots of great content. So check out FiveTwentyCollective.com. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the homepage, you'll see those social media links as well. So make sure you're following us and getting up to date. The latest is happening here at FiveTwenty Collective. And Nate, man, one thing that is definitely the latest to happen for FiveTwenty Collective is our Discord server. And guys, if you scroll to the bottom of that homepage right there next to those social media links, you'll also see a link to join our Discord. And we really hope you do, man, because we are trying some new stuff out, Nate. Actually, as we speak, we are live on our Discord channel. You guys join the Discord server, you get a chance to maybe check out the podcast as we record it each month. So, not only that, I mean, just lots of great conversation happening on there, Nate. We had, album release party that we did with K-Drama. We've had artist interviews, and then just lots of great discussion happening and relationship building, man. I love seeing what is happening on Discord and seeing what's evolving and what we're able to do with it to interact more as a community, man. How are you feeling about what's happening on Discord? Why do people need to be in there with us, man?
Well, I have enjoyed being on the Discord server, getting that opened up. And like you said, we're trying a bunch of different things. But the biggest thing is you get to join a nice community of artists, fans, whole different, combination of people. There's people that are behind the scenes in the Discord of CHH, just, kind of talking about whatever is on people's minds or hearts, whether it's, newsworthy, music related, just whatever, maybe the topic of the week or the day that's people are wanting to talk about. So go ahead, get on there and join the Discord server and kind of look around and see what we got going there. We got all kinds of different channels and servers that you can hop in on and get acquainted with people.
Yeah, man, for sure. So make sure you guys check us out on Discord, join the server, and hit up 520collective.com where you can check out the latest and what's going on in indie Christian hip hop. So Nate, man, one new segment that we are rolling out here that I'm super excited about. For people who don't know, man, you are our playlist guru here at 520 Collective, and you have one of the best playlists around in the sauce right on Spotify, man. First of all, just tell the people a little bit about the sauce, man. What do they need to know?
It's, a playlist especially curated for independent Christian hip hop artists. The artists that don't get a lot of support out there from, obviously they're independent, so they don't have any label helping them getting their music out. Just trying to support those guys and ladies out there that are grinding hard and putting out great quality music for the fans and listeners out there. So I do my best to find I guess you could say the cream of the crop in CHH and keep the content as fresh and as current as possible. So it's been, sometimes being that the artists are independent, it's hard to keep track of sometimes because, they're not pushing it as hard as, like, they don't have a label pushing the music. And so it's a challenge, but fun at the same time because we're able to support those people out there that don't have as much support as some other artists.
Yes, sir. And if you are an independent artist and you are wanting to make sure that you get your new music over to Nate so he can consider it for the playlist, 520collect.com. Again, guys, right at the top it says submit your music. Go to that playlist submission form and send it his way so he can consider it. And maybe you'll find yourself on our newest segment right now that we're going to roll out, and that is Nate's Top 5 Sauce new songs, I guess, of the month, Nate, right? I don't know. We're still playing with the title, right? What we're looking at calling it, but it's Nate's favorite 5 songs that he's added to the sauce over the past month. So, man, Nate, I mean, that's the thing. You talked about how you are constantly, every week new music's coming out and you're adding to the sauce. So to make a top 5 list for the month, as far as like the tracks that really stood out to you, it's no small feat in my opinion. And I'm definitely interested to hear what 5 songs were the ones that stood out to you over the past month.
Well, I've got some that you've probably heard of, some that maybe some people aren't aware of. And these are in no particular order, so I don't want to make it sound like somebody's better than someone else, but these are the top 5 songs I've been enjoying this month. Start out with one of my favorites is Chris Soul, kind of a not as well-known artist out there. He had a new single come out called Crash. It's a great song, very soulful, a lot of feeling in that. So that's a song you need to check out. Of course, these are all on the playlist, so if you follow the playlist, you're going to be able to find these easy. The second song I had this month was Bats, a younger new artist that's kind of come onto the scene lately. He's been releasing a lot of music, but his newest single, Origin Story, really a good, solid song. If you're a fan of, for a younger artist, he's got a kind of older sound to him, boom bap type, really great flow. So be on the lookout for Bats and check out his new song, Origin Story. Third, we have New Tone featuring Scooty Wop, Bandito. New Tone is a newer artist that I've been turned on to here in the last month, and he released an album, and one of the song from it, Bandito, is real good. Great collab between him and Scooty Wop. So be sure and check out New Tone and get acquainted with his music. And a friend of our platform we've been really been happy to support lately is Godframe, and his newest song, Framer's Anthem, is a great, got a great party vibe to it. Just a fun song to listen to, and I've been enjoying listening to that the last couple weeks. And we'll round out the list with Trey Gadd featuring Swayze and their Basement Bars. Just a fun kind of cypher type song. Kind of just throwing out bars and rapping at each other. It's fun if you like that type of style. Trey Gadd, kind of, he's pretty well known, but it doesn't release a whole lot of music all at once, but he's also a very talented artist that you should be acquainted with as well. So those are my initial top 5 songs of the month on the sauce. Be sure, like Eric and I were saying, follow that playlist, and you'll find all that music there.
And there you have it, guys. That is Nate's top 5 sauce new songs of the month for this past month, man. Nate, some definite good tracks on that top 5, dude. I'll say a lot of them are a little new for me. You know, like you said, there's some new artists there. The one that I think I really enjoyed was that Framers Anthem by Godframe, man. That was a good track. Godframe's been putting out some good music here lately, for sure.
Yeah. He's really leveled up here recently.
Yeah, man. So be looking out for him. And we actually have a little something special coming with him. So make sure you guys tune into the website. Keep your eyes peeled for something special in the works with Godframe. So we'll be checking that out. So Nate, man, you know how it is around Christian hip hop, man. There's always something happening, right? I mean, it just seems like that's just how it is in this space, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of the music industry in general, and CHH is no stranger to it.
Yeah, man. So, and here's the thing. It's not even that it's just CHH. There's a lot of stuff that's maybe adjacent or, you know, related in some way to it. But man, one thing that, you know, really caught my eye recently that I wanted to talk with you about and get your opinion on was I saw a tweet from DJ Mike LV. I mean, I think most people know who Mike LV is. You know, DJ, you know, God always. He's got the playlist on Spotify. Man, works with kind of everybody, man. Social Club. He just did a track with our guy Jimmy Rock on the new K-drama project as well. So, I mean, people, if you know CHH, you know Mike LV, and he made a tweet that he posted on March 27th, and I'm gonna read this to you, Nate, and talk about it. So, it starts off saying, "Yo, so I'm checking out all this music today. Some of you might end up on God Always." Okay, so that's the first half of the tweet. Nothing crazy there, right? Actually, it sounds awesome, right? He's checking out the new music that dropped, looking to add more to his playlist, kind of like you. I'm gonna say though, man, he's got to catch up to you, bro. Come on, let's just be honest, you know. Like, come on, Mike LV, you got to step your game up. You want to be on Nate's level, but anyway. So yeah, not a bad start to this tweet, but then here's where it gets interesting, Nate. He says, "But ain't it funny how everyone wants me to listen to their music and get on the playlist," speaking of the God Always playlist, "but nobody wants to retweet the actual playlist?" ? You know, I think this is something that's worth talking about, Nate. So you got artists in this space, and you know, it's all respect. You know, I think if people know our hearts, they know that our goal is to come alongside indie artists, especially the newer ones, and, you know, just kind of pour into them what we can, give them our little tidbits that we've picked up along the way. But you know, artists, they want to be playlisted, or in our case, you know, they also want to get posted on the website, right? But then the thing that you do notice when you are the people behind the scenes of those things, you know, whether it is a website or a playlist or a radio show or whatever the case may be, you know, Mike LV is making a very real and true statement here, because you do see artists who rarely share and promote those said playlist or website postings. And
yes.
And I mean, I don't know, Nate, like, what do you think about that? First of all, what do you think about, Mike LV putting that out there? And, do you agree with him? And if you do, or I guess if you don't, like why? Like, what do you see?
Right. And I do agree, with the tweet for most instances, and not saying there aren't artists out there that not support, because there are definitely plenty of those, but it's also symptomatic. You do see not a lot, but you do see occasionally artists on social media, kind of, I don't know if I wouldn't call it complaining, but just venting about how they don't feel like they're being supported by different platforms or whoever. But yet when stuff like this comes around, where, you get on a playlist, somebody is asking to listen to your music, see if be able to be on their playlist. Everybody is always happy to drop their music in, share it with whoever's got the playlist or wanting to hear new music, but then don't show the support for the person that's trying to support them. So it can get a little frustrating. And I've seen it a couple times in my experience, but in general, through the whole genre and the subspace, it is a problem. It's not, like I said, it's not a lot of artists out there that are doing that, but the ones that are usually are the ones that are the loudest and are seen the most, that are not reciprocating the support they're looking for.
Yeah, man. And, like, here's the thing, man. Like, I don't always agree with the things that I see Mike LV saying or tweeting or sharing on social media, whatever. But I do agree with him here. And here's the thing. If you're listening to this, do not take it as, oh man, the guys at FiveTwenty are bashing artists, because we're not. That's not it. We say these things and we tackle subjects like this because we want to see growth. We want to see the space thrive, right? I mean, I think that's the conversation, is how can Christian hip hop elevate, right? How can we continue to grow and have a bigger impact, on a larger scale, and making sure that we have good business practices is kind of a common theme that I hear in response to that. And this is just one of those things, right? If you are looking for support, you better be willing to support others. I mean, I think that is a fair and a fair approach to it, honestly. Because here's the thing, I don't want it to come across as we are trying to get artists to help make FiveTwenty a bigger platform. That's not what it's about. That's not it at all. However, this is the thing I do know, is that if FiveTwenty is able to grow, whether it be on, FiveTwentyCollective.com, or if it's on the Sauce playlist or the Discord server, or, however else we put out content, if we're able to reach a bigger audience, then we're able to help put the music of these artists in front of more eyes and ears than we were before, right? I mean, it's just a cause and effect thing. And the same thing with, any playlist curators like Mike LV, right? I mean, if you're sharing, you're making it where your audience knows that, hey, this playlist is out here, go follow it. It's awesome. It's great. And he grows that following, then the songs and the artists that he places on there, all of a sudden they reap those benefits of a larger demographic that is tuning in. So, that's what it comes down to, really, guys, is like, hey, let's support each other. I think, one thing that's really cool with some of the conversations that I've had in like group chats and telegrams and different things, is starting to see real relationships that are building, right? And it's, man, I want to support you, not because of how it benefits me, but because it's good for all of us, right? And that encourages me. But there's the caveat of, there's a reason why a tweet like this from Mike LV still exists, though, because we're not there on a consistent basis. I don't know. I mean, and to go with that, we're always willing to support anybody, and we do support. And for me, at least, I don't need to have that. I guess, the reciprocation of the support to keep doing what I'm doing, but it also makes it easier to support if you're working alongside the people that are trying to support you. So, definitely newer artists, if you're trying to gain some traction out there, you gotta think about that as well. Because if you're going to grow your fan base, like you were saying, those playlists that you're trying to get on, if you're not sharing those playlists, people aren't going to find your music. So it's kind of a catch-22 if you're wanting to grow your brand. Yeah. And, 100% in agreement with you there, Nate. Like, another thing is like, if you got, especially when you got people who are willing to back you and support you and do it for free. I mean, I don't want it to come down to money at all, but like, I know, speaking specifically for us, we will post you on the playlist. We will post you on the website, and we're not looking for anything in return other than, man, just share it. Just let people know that we're out here and we exist. We're not charging anyone for this. We do it because we feel like this is the ministry that God has put in place for us, right? Like, and this is us trying to take the example of Jesus and share it the best way we possibly can, with music that we love, right? I mean, I don't think when Jesus was making relationships, throughout Scripture, he wasn't doing so because of what the people could do for him. However, I think he appreciated, that the message of what he came to do was being shared, right? And so, I don't know. I think if we take those biblical examples and we just form strong relationships, man, like, that's what it comes down to, is forming strong relationships where it's mutually beneficial to everybody. It goes a long way, and it's going to create that unity that people talk about us missing. It's going to create the opportunity for this whole thing to grow. And man, I'm talking to us as much as I'm talking to anybody. We can't expect FiveTwenty to prosper. And if we're not,
our platform, our platform's not going to grow just by sharing artist music or just posting it to the website and hoping that somebody comes and looks at it. So
100%. So guys, make sure you go out, find someone that you can connect with, and just share what they have going on, share their content with your audience, because you don't know how it's going to come back to you, and typically it's going to come back in a good way. So that's our encouragement this month, is that you guys run with that. And yeah, man, so our featured song for this month, brought to you by Show Me Christ Records. Make sure you hit them up, showmechristrecords.com, where they've got their own playlist that you can get on, submit there. And then they've got, music by their artist Jude. They've got a lot of stuff in the works, Nate, I know. Go hit them up, showmechristrecords.com, and shout them out for sponsoring our featured song of the month. Guys, let's listen to this new song, All Right, from Solachi Voz, and make sure you stick around after the song. And when we come back, we have our industry insider interview. It is with Sketch the Journalist, so you want to make sure you stick around for this interview. But right now, sit back and enjoy All Right by Solachi Voz.
So I'm alright. Show me what I had the keys to, all white. I be swinging for the fences like a mall fight. I ain't about to look the same, do it all different. Circle got a little smaller and we all different. Write it down when he speaks, then we all listen. Shut down all the magic, let me guard pippin'. Said his favorite was a flavor and we all drippin'. I ain't quitting on my walk, baby, y'all trippin'. I ain't trying to take the credit, I don't use it neither. Learn to stay away from people shouting, I'm the leader. Don't ask me twice, answer's consistent, I'm following Christ. Only couple people running in the field with me. Same ones I know that's gonna keep it real with me. Never thought I had to polo anybody polo. It's essential to your mental, this you gotta know though. He been handing you the dub, you weren't in it solo. Everybody make mistakes, bro, you gotta grow though, alright? I wanna complain cause it's alright. Good Lord made a way and it's alright here. Staying in my lane and it's alright. Make waves with the squad and it's alright here. We don't look the same and it's alright. I wanna complain cause it's alright here. Yeah, he made a way and it's alright. Make waves with the squad cause it's alright here. Alright, 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 alright. He already made a way and it's alright. Make waves with the squad cause it's alright here. I wanna complain cause it's alright. Good Lord made a way and it's alright here. Staying in my lane and it's alright. Make waves with the squad and it's alright here. We don't look the same and it's alright. I wanna complain cause it's alright here. Yeah, he made a way and it's alright. Make waves with the squad cause it's alright here. Alright, 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 alright. He already made a way and it's alright. Make waves with the squad cause it's alright here. I wonder how we always came in the clutch. I can trust him to know the way so he could double the Dutch. Took a piece out of my mind to put the piece back. Now the driver's here and we ain't staring with the seats back. It's a promise, it's a fact. No matter how you react, you might as well just relax. He's putting it in your lap. I made a decision, I'll be alright. Ain't no longer wishing I'll be alright. Now we got the vision, I'll be alright. Staying on a mission, I'll be alright. You made a decision, you'll be alright. Ain't no longer wishing you'll be alright. When you got the vision, you'll be alright. Staying on your mission, you'll be alright. Alright.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Eric with FiveTwenty Collective and the FiveTwenty Collective podcast. I want to talk to you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way possible to make a podcast. Let me break it down for you. 1, it's free. That's right, no cost to use Anchor. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you. So if you want to get on platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and many, many more, then it's really, really easy, guys. You just set up an Anchor account at anchor.fm. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Again, make money, no minimum listeners. You're not going to find that anywhere else. It's everything you need to make a podcast, and it's all in one place. So go right now and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And make sure you let them know you heard it on FiveTwenty Collective podcast. Welcome to this month's Industry Insider interview, brought to you officially by Bookkeeper247.com. What's good, and welcome to another Industry Insider interview here on the FiveTwenty Collective podcast. As always, we are being sponsored by the Bookkeeper247.com. Make sure you guys go and support Bookkeeper 24/7 as they are rolling out great Christian hip hop related content on a regular basis. Daryl and the team, man, they knock it out the park. They're some of the realest people that you're going to find in the space. So definitely go hit it up. Support the Bookkeeper247.com. And joining me right now on the Trackstars Podcasting Network phone line, man, he's kind of done a little bit of everything in this space. Whenever you talk about an OG, this is an OG right here. I've heard people say that he is Christian hip hop's historian, and I totally agree with that. So joining me on the phone line is Sketch the Journalist. What's going on, man?
Howdy. Thanks for having me on. You said I've done a little bit of everything. I want to say up front, I've never tried to rap or make beats. So that was one thing I knew early on. I did not have that skill set. So I defaulted to writing about people who did do it really well. And that's what kind of got me foot in the door into the scene. So.
Yeah, man. Well, but here's the thing, dude. Like, one thing that I see a lot of, right now is you see these artists in the Christian hip hop space talking about, we need more people behind the scenes. We need more outlets and people writing about stuff and people reporting. And it's like, well, we have them, and you're a testament to that, right? Cause how far back with Christian hip hop do you go?
I'm definitely old school, and everything that I tell you will kind of reveal my age. But I got my first Christian rap tape in 1986. So it was Stephen Wiley's Bible Break, which is long held as one of the first kind of commercially available Christian hip hop albums. So I was a believer at a young age. My parents were believers, and they knew that I liked hip hop. It was just the music that was around me and my friends. And I remember going to a Christian bookstore and looking over the limited music selection, and my mom picking out that tape, and it was a cassette tape, and it was just a single. So it had the song on one side and the instrument on the other. And she bought it mainly because the cover art explicitly said Christian rap. And Stephen Wiley's on the front in like a tie, holding a Bible. Like, it's very clear, particularly, at that time, hip hop was still kind of demonized, and certainly Christian world didn't really know what to do with it. So you wanted to make sure that it was safe, and that's really what this cover art told. But I was sold on it. I loved it and used it and played it for quite a bit. Used it in youth group and that sort of thing. I bought it was Bible Break, and Rapping for Jesus was the second one that he came out with. So that was 86, and then there's a little bit of time gap until I moved. So that was when I was in Memphis, Tennessee, and then I moved to Houston, Texas, and there was more Christian bookstores available. And I remember going through the bookstore shelves then, and I bought SFC's Phase 3 tape, based strictly judging off the cover. So back in the day, you didn't have a lot of the previews. We didn't have the internet, YouTube, the samples, Apple Music, that kind of thing. So you had to drive to a bookstore, go find something that you wanted, hope that they might have a demo version, which was an open version of the cassette or CD that you could listen to and preview beforehand. But we didn't have that. So I bought this Phase 3 off the strength of the cover because it used like a fisheye lens photograph, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I picked that up and I really enjoyed it. And then I just started reading liner notes and okay, SFC, they shout out Dynamic Twins, and they talk about this other group, or Alliance of Light, which turned out to be Gospel Gangsters, or Freedom of Soul. So then next time I'm in the store, I'm looking to pick up those kind of titles, because at least I feel like they're somewhat affiliated. Occasionally that would lead me in the wrong path, but more often than not, it was great. So yeah, I've been in it since kind of the mid to late 80s.
Yeah, man. And we had our guy DJ B Plus on the podcast not too long ago, and we had a similar conversation. Me and him had those experiences too, of going to the Christian bookstore and checking out the demos. And you're right, man. It's like you looked at just the cover art, and that kind of made you decide whether you wanted to try it or not, right? And then you move into kind of that mid to late 90s, and you got Grapetree with their kind of No Limit style covers. And yeah, I mean, that's what it was all about back then. Like, it's crazy how much things have changed.
Yeah, it's a lot more accessible, which I think is great for the purposes of the gospel and from just the business and music side, that it's so much easier to find now. Some might complain that it's too much and you get lost in the shuffle, but just imagine back in the day having to talk to your parents and ask them to drive you to a bookstore and hope that they had a selection available that you might not be able to listen to, and then you're paying like full retail price for that stuff. So those tapes were like $15, $17, something now, where, you know, folks today, if they're interested in something, they can hop on YouTube, they can hop on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, find tons of this stuff that gets recommended. Algorithms will feed them. They get visuals. They find websites like yours that help expose artists much better. It's definitely a good time as far as trying to find music these days.
Right, man. So late 80s, you start kind of, you know, getting a feel for Christian hip hop, and then you end up going to Sam Houston State for journalism, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
I just say let's talk about that just a little bit. Like, man, like obviously you're interested in the journalism side of things, and then you got this love for hip hop. Was it just kind of a natural thing that you would eventually begin writing about this genre?
Yeah, I think so. So I mentioned moving from Tennessee to Texas, and that was when I was in 7th grade. And that was the first time I had elective classes. And when I was trying to choose those, my mom helped me. So as my pen name might indicate, Sketch, I have an artistic side, and I used to draw cartoons. So we got here to Texas and Houston and got to pick classes. And she said, why don't you pick newspaper? Maybe they'll publish some of your cartoons. So I started taking newspaper class in 7th grade, really just out of the hope that they would publish my cartoons, which they did. But I also learned how to write kind of in news and inverted pyramid style. And so I stuck with it from 7th grade to high school. In high school, I was on the newspaper staff, and I did editorial cartooning, but I also wrote opinion pieces. And again, that's where I was getting more and more into Christian hip hop. Didn't really write about it in high school, but in college, I did go and continue to pursue journalism. Sam Houston State University is a good school for that. Dan Rather, who used to anchor the CBS Nightly News, he's one of our biggest alumni from there, and he's from the journalism school. So, yes, I was on the newspaper staff in college, and getting obviously more. I love this music, and it was what I resonated with, and I did want to share it with people. So occasionally I remember writing a review about grits and put it in the college paper. And then just to kind of through then you talked about like Grapetree growing bigger, and they had like their own magazine that I subscribed to called Heaven's Hip Hop Magazine. And I would read that for critical reviews and artist interviews. And I just one summer wrote a bunch of letters to artists. They had like an unsigned hypes kind of issue that had guys like New Wine and Rafi from Future Shock and some of those cats. And they printed their physical addresses. Again, this was kind of pre-internet. And I wrote these people letters, and I just said, hey, I'd love to learn more about your music, would like to get it. And I got in contact with some of those artists, and then kind of through that newsletter, I found out there was a guy in Houston named Slave who was producing his own newsletter called One Mind. And it was just a one sheet that he was printing in his apartment. But it covered Christian hip hop in a more local perspective of like what was going on in Houston. Because Houston has had traditionally a pretty good scene with a lot of artists. We had a public access television show that covered Christian hip hop, and we had a club that had a Christian club that had a gospel hip hop like night once a month that I would go to. So I wrote this guy Slave, and I was like, hey, I'd love to be able to contribute to your newsletter. So we connected at a Cross Movement New Wine concert, and then I started writing reviews for him and kind of just built my portfolio from there.
Wow. That's crazy, man. So, before we dive into kind of like just talking about CHH in general and that kind of stuff, because I definitely want to have that conversation because of your experience, but I am really interested. You were talking about the different styles when it comes to journalism. Like, how has that changed over the years, man? Because now with the internet, I know the way that people approach writing articles is completely different. But I mean, I didn't really get into it until, the past like 10 years or so. as far as writing goes. Like, what have you seen? Like, how has that changed?
Yeah, I would say it feels like we have, and this is just in a general sense, we have lost or are losing kind of the more in-depth journalism that requires a little bit more of research, investigation, or just longer profile pieces. And that's not necessarily good or bad, but our attention span is obviously a lot shorter these days. We're looking for shorter, quicker hits. I've noticed too that with the advent of social media, like, I don't know that my role as a reporter was as important as it was years ago when some of these artists didn't have their own platforms to be able to share their news. So they would look to me and to media outlets to help them share their story and reach an audience base that they couldn't on their own. But today, at least once you hit a certain level, maybe the media is not as necessary as it was before. So somebody, obviously like a Lecrae or any Mineo stature, they can put out their own, they can announce their own news through their Twitter feeds and Instagram feeds and that sort of thing. So they're not as reliant on us in the media to do that. But obviously, and I know you guys cover kind of independent artists, they do still rely more on media to help them gain an audience and bring exposure to the work that they're doing. So that's definitely where I guess two things is I see articles getting shorter just for the attention span of the reader. And two, I guess maybe the shift in focus once some folks get to a certain level of notoriety, they're not as dependent on media to help them share their story.
Right, for sure. And you're talking about writing for getting connected with these guys with newsletters and stuff. Talk about just some of the different publications and stuff that you have worked with as a journalist, as a writer in this Christian hip hop space, because you've kind of been able to be a part of almost all the major, real impactful, outlets that we have. And
yeah, I tried. I figured it was the talent that God had given me. He didn't give me the rapping or the beat making side, or dancing side for sure. So, I just wanted to contribute my skill, in those areas. So I had mentioned starting with this One Mind magazine, our newsletter that became a magazine that we got printed. We went to events like Flavor Fest and kind of networked with artists. That OM95 became thesouth.com, which some folks may remember, kind of early internet. That helped
the South message boards,
and,
man. The message boards.
Yes. They were legendary. So my friend Slave helped do that, and that's where I had some reviews published. Holyculture.com was one of the early ones too that I contributed. But yeah, it's just as the internet was popping off, I was like, well, shoot, I'll just submit to a bunch of these places. And kind of my main goal, the same way that doing early journalism was get my cartoons published. When I started writing about Christian hip hop, I thought, well, if I write reviews, maybe I'll get free music and I don't have to spend as much money on this stuff. And these artists will send me their music for free, which is less important these days. But, so I wrote for sphereofhiphop.com, like I said, Holy Culture, thesouth.com, which became Jam the Hype, Rapzilla in its early days when Philip was starting it. And that kind of stuff led with the advent of social media. I got some notoriety. Then I started kind of my own blog with Google, had a WordPress type of format that I could do my own reporting on, and I kind of modeled it after some indie Houston rap reporting from the secular side that I had seen. And I would just go to shows and meet people and take photos and conduct my own interviews and ask people if I could do that sort of thing. So all those opportunities and kind of bylines led to me pitching a couple of articles to the Houston Chronicle, our local newspaper and media outlet. I had seen that they had a religion reporter, anyway, I've got a story about that. So I went to Houston Chronicle, Relevant Magazine, some other magazines in our space. And this is not a pattern anybody should necessarily follow, and things have changed. Nobody's success story is probably the same. But one day I was on the Houston Chronicle's website and I saw they had posted like a slideshow article that said 10 Houston rappers you didn't know were Muslim. And I was clicking through, and one of them was Chameleonaire of the he worked with Paul Wall back in the day of Swisher House. And so I had worked previously with Trey Nine, who's well known in Houston as a hip hop missionary, and he did a whole lot of events. we had interviewed Chameleonaire before, and he talked about one of his parents was Muslim, one was Christian. And so I found out who wrote that article, and I sent her a very polite email and just said, hey, I wonder where you got your information. You know, I've seen interviews with him before. He talked about different members of his family and the faith. And that person wrote me back and said, oh, thanks for letting me know. You know, I wasn't aware of that. And I think, again, my approach had something to do with that. So once that person wrote me back, I was like, oh, I've got a name and a contact at Houston Chronicle who writes about faith and who knows about hip hop and even Houston hip hop and is kind of interested in it. So I just kept that in the back of my mind. And as I was doing more events with Trey 9 and whatnot, I would picture stories that I thought might work well for the newspaper. We were putting together, we got invited to South by Southwest to do the first Christian hip hop stage there. Previous to that, we had done our own award shows in Houston and expanded it to Texas and had secular guys involved with those, Slick Rick and Sway and Lil Kiki and those kind of folks. So those were stories I was like, okay, this is kind of a Houston angle. There's some secular bent to it. This lady might be interested in it. And she told me no several times, but then she told me yes on a couple of them. She's like, hey, do you mind if I put this in my blog? I said, yeah, go ahead. And she gave me full attribution. And after taking 2 or 3 of my stories, she offered me my own blog presence there and said, hey, we're starting up a network of just religion bloggers, and you won't get paid for it, but it's good exposure for you, and you've got the keys to the back end to publish whatever you like. So there was bloggers that were atheist or Muslim or New Age, and I happened to be like, you know, the Christian hip hop blogger. And I would write stories and then occasionally pitch them to her. They were published on their website, and then sometimes I would pitch them to her, and when she put them into print, then I did get paid. So they had a faith section that came out on Thursdays, and I wrote stories about Flavor Fist. My first one, I think, was about Raw Servant being on the reality show with Omarosa that Donald Trump produced. I wrote stories about Bun B, a secular rapper here in Houston that was teaching a hip-hop and religion class at Rice University, about Derek Webb, a Christian folk singer who was interested in hip-hop and loved that kind of stuff. So it really expanded my reach, but that was just kind of an interesting story of how I kind of, I guess, broke into the newspaper secular media side. Was really just because I wrote a nice email complaining about an article that somebody wrote, and then I knew I had a contact there that I could follow up with. So I guess really it's just a lot about networking. That stuff can be applied to any facet of life. Just go out and meet people, find out what they do, find out how you can help them, approach them and kindness and sincerity, and you never know what might happen. So
100% for sure. And guys, joining me again on the Trackstars Podcast Network phone line, we are talking with Sketch the journalist here on the 520 Collective podcast. So man, like one guy that both of us have a relationship with is Brinson. And, you know, I like to think that Brinson is one of the guys who is kind of like that bridge between the older generation of Christian hip hop that maybe like you and I grew up with and today's Christian hip hop, right? So, you know, it's really cool being able to pick his brain. Like, I wonder, like, as you have watched the evolution of this genre, like what kind of things have stood out and you know, is there like, you know, people debate about, you know, what's the golden era of Christian rap? In your opinion, what would you say the golden era is? So it's kind of a two-parter there.
Yeah, I'll answer that one first. So I think the golden era of hip hop is the era that you first came into it is. And I feel like I've learned that from just talking to a lot of artists and fans. One of my favorite questions, and I had a bit of a series on my YouTube channel for a while, asking like, what was your introduction to hip hop? And I think in the same way, a lot of times we have a fondness for the music we listened to in our teenage years. And obviously that's when at the time period when a lot of people discover Christian hip hop. But I feel like whenever you first find it and it really connects and it doesn't come off as cheesy, that's going to be your golden era. So it's going to vary for different people, but it's going to be aligned with kind of their faith walk and when they discovered this. And when a lot of times, even for artists too, it's like when they discovered they weren't the only ones trying to do this. It's amazing how many artists you talk to and they were like, yeah, I didn't even know this thing existed until like I started trying to do it myself, and then I found out other people, or I looked online and stuff. So my personal favorite is going to be kind of the I don't know, 90s to early 2000s. I feel like there was a good mix of styles. Not everybody necessarily even got along, but you could go to your Christian bookstore and you could find Tunnel Rats and Cross Movement and Great Tree and all these kind of like different sounds, different theology, different stories in their backgrounds. Some of these guys were Christians who happened to rap. Some of them were Christian rappers. Some of them were dudes that were just saved off the street and didn't know anything about theology, but just knew Jesus saved them and wanted to tell that story. And it was pretty awesome. So that's my, I guess, personal favorite. But like I said, I think if you ask anybody, it's going to be really tied to when they maybe first became a believer or just first became aware of this music and felt like it had some legitimacy to it. So.
Yeah, man. So what do you feel has like really just changed? I mean, obviously Christian hip hop, just the amount of like artists in the space is greater than probably it's ever been. The accessibility there, like how have you, when you step back and just watch the evolution of this whole thing, like what stands out to you?
Yeah, I think accessibility, like you had mentioned, like just with the advent of social media, it's so much easier to hear directly from the artist that you want to follow. And it's so much easier for them to get feedback from fans. And that's not even necessarily a good thing all the time. Like, we know about kind of the way that fans have critiqued some of these artists and the impact that it's had on them. I just started reading Lecrae's second book, Losing My Religion. And he talks some about that, kind of the backlash that he got within the last couple of years when he started speaking out about social issues that were affecting the Black community and how he had been kind of pressured or shifted towards kind of this Reformed theology camp because he was looking for father figures and affirmation and solid teaching. But then he realized some of those people didn't hold the same values that he did, or he felt used oftentimes. So I think that accessibility, like into the music that we talked about earlier, you don't have to drive to a bookstore and hope that they have that selection on their shelf. So it's so much easier to find. It's easier to connect with the artist. I think that puts a lot of pressure on them in some ways as they're trying to build their fan base and their musicianship. They may be doing things that they may not have back in the day if they had not felt the pressure to post every day or, you know, keep the algorithms up so that these social media sites like keep them engaged with their fan base and that sort of thing. We don't have a lot of mystery in Christian hip hop. The only one I can really think of off the top of my head is NF, and obviously some people would debate whether he's Christian or not, but he doesn't post a lot. He's very consistent with his imagery. I don't see him engage with his fans a ton. You don't even see his face appear on the social media sites that often. But we've lost some of that mystery, which can add value from an artistic standpoint in following some of this music.
Yeah, man. And when we look back at, like you said, kind of the, you know, because you mentioned Plato, now known as Crumb. I mean, that was where the era that I really love. You know, we were talking about that before we got going. And, you know, when we go back to that time, the big knock for Christian rap, it wasn't that people were saying, oh, well, there's not skill. You know, they said the writing was good, that the ability was there. It was more like the production and the engineering side wasn't up to par. And now I think we have, you know, obviously pushed past that. You know, we've taken care of those issues. And then for a little bit, it seemed like we were kind of stuck in this whole trap and you know, this wave sound, you know, for a while in CHH. I think what's got me excited right now is that we're starting to see just like this resurgence of a wide variety of sound. You know, we're getting the lyricists in here and they're getting some, getting noticed and stuff. Like what has you excited about, or if you were going to kind of predict the next few years for CHH, like what do you see happening?
Yeah, that's hard to do, but I'm like you. I'm excited to see that lyricism is still around and people appreciate it, whether it's come through the battle scene or just I don't know, guys like Eshawn Burgundy and Bizzle. You know, Bizzle can do some very like kind of pop and sing songy stuff, but Duke can rap too, like, and have a lot in there. And I think I appreciate kind of even that mix that there's, those guys know how to make some commercial sounding music, but they also know, kind of the purity and enjoyment of just good solid wordplay and packing a lot of information into, as few words as possible and using double and triple entendres. So I hope that continues. I would love to see more, Christian hip hop still continue to grow in its platform. There are not a lot of radio stations, and I know radio is not as powerful as it used to be back in the day, but here in Houston, we've been blessed to have Engine Radio that plays this stuff over the air 24/7. So I can go out while I'm on a drive and turn on my car radio and listen to Engine and hear KB and Wande and those kind of folks. So I would love to see more over the air radio stations, and I think we might see that as the hip hop generation, or people that have grown up on hip hop, continue to move into positions of power and are the gatekeepers. So now it's not unusual to have a 40 or 50-year-old person that has experience and exposure to hip hop and understands it and understands the consumer. So hopefully they'll be opening some of those pathways to more folks to get exposure to it.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, obviously here at FiveTwenty, we focus in on the independent artists. So, you know, guys that are maybe just starting out. And there's a lot of finding your way and understanding how things work. If you were going to pass on just like one solid nugget of advice to these young artists from, you know, based on your experience in the years you've been involved with all this, like, what would that piece be that you want to make sure that they understand and take with them?
Yeah. I think just from a business and music side, it's the value of networking. I talked about that a little bit earlier, and I don't think that ever goes out of style. It's obviously been hampered by COVID and us not having a lot of events or a lot of public spaces to go into and connect with other people, but don't be afraid to just introduce yourself, to serve others. So if it's an event and if you're performing and you see they need, no one's picking up the chairs after the event, do that. Connect with people who are some of the gatekeepers and those who put on these kind of shows who might be willing to do that. Connect with other artists. And it's okay to have confidence, but you also need some humility and to know that you don't have it all figured out yet and that they might have tools and techniques and relationships that can benefit you down the line. So be willing to give back and have a humble attitude about it all. I know it's easy with as much technology and production equipment that we have to be able to do a lot of this stuff from our home, and you can record your own, music and albums and release them digitally and record your own videos and post them and like never really go out and kind of meet your audience or meet your peers. But I think there still holds a lot of value to that. So once we kind of get out of the COVID era, I would encourage people to, don't lose sight of the value in that. And that's things that you'll hear outside of Christian hip hop. And it's just good life skills is to know how to relate to people, how to talk to them, introduce yourself, find out what you can do for them, ask them what they can do for you, and be clear about that. So I think that would be beneficial for their music careers. And then just don't lose sight of kind of the mission. What are you really in this for? Is it just to be a famous rapper who's Christian? If so, just be clear about that as your goal. If you're in it for ministry, then consider that cost and the amount of time and effort that it might take on your family. If you're looking for that, it's easy to do this stuff with a super amount of fervor when you're young and single and that sort of thing. But as you get married and have a family, if you're still a believer, those are things that you should still hold in great regard and want to spend time on it. So that might mean you have less time to put into some of this craft. So try to figure out how you can age gracefully in this. Trey Nine is a good example that I mentioned to you, that he was an artist and he eventually kind of just retired that. He's a full-time hip hop missionary. He's still very involved in the scene. but he's more involved in putting in events and planting house churches and apartments and using artists to share the gospel that way. Or maybe you find a way to continue performing like Brenton, who's always finding new ways to kind of reinvent himself and stay on top of trends, but still be authentic to who he is. So I think that's a great way to kind of approach it too.
100%. Well, like you kind of mentioned, man, you had a big year this past year. Definitely congrats on the wedding and all that stuff, adding to the family, man. What are we looking forward to coming up for Sketch the Journalist, man? Like what do you have that we can support?
Yeah, I still write occasionally for my blog. You can find it at italktorappers.com. But yeah, since I kind of had gone through a separation, divorce, and remarriage, I did take a back seat, and COVID is not as much. But so, not producing as much content these days, but I'm still here to support and to offer insight to folks. I occasionally write press releases for artists or kind of just give them consultation about what I might see moving forward. So you may not see as much public, but I'm still around and hope to be going to events and photographing them soon. That's been a passion that's kind of developed in addition to my writing side, was that I just found a need for just, good photography and just documentation of these events. I don't even hold myself out as a really good photographer, but if I go to enough events and take a camera and they've got decent lighting, I'll get some decent shots that other people may not have seen or may not have seen through my perspective. And I can share those on social media and, like you guys do, give exposure to a lot of indie artists who need kind of more people to see and hear their music. So I guess stay tuned to my social media channels. They're all at Sketch the J. If you don't want to spell out journalist, it's just Sketch the J. And that's where you can find, kind of what's been going on in my world.
All right, man. That's what's up. Sketch, man, don't be a stranger, connect with us. We'll look to get you back on the show in the future, man. I'm sure we'll have some more stuff we can chat about for sure. But thank you again for jumping on here. And guys, we want to make sure we give a shout out to all of our episode sponsors here on the 520 Collective Podcast, including the Bookkeeper247.com for helping us make this industry insider interview possible. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you guys next month.